All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to look at our very last set of videos on the standard of operations on polynomials. Now again, we're still looking at target AB. You can factor polynomials, so A was again being able to perform addition, subtraction, multiplication with polynomials. Now we're looking at the inverse of multiplication, which is factoring. So this time we're going to look at factoring trinomials again, but unlike the last set of videos, we are now going to have some value out in front of x squared, something other than 1. And that really doesn't change the process we use, but it does make the problems a little bit more detailed in how we do them. Okay? So here are two examples of trinomials, three-term polynomials that have a 1 out in front of the x squared, like we did on our last talk. What I'd like you to do is to shut off the video, at least pause it, and then take a look at factoring these, and then turn this back on or play it, and we'll see if you got them right. Okay, so again, pause the video, take a few minutes, and see if you can factor these two trinomials. All right, I'm going to move these up a little bit. Now, on the first one here, remember, I'd like to do it using this method where you make factors of the first term, x squared, and then factors of the last term, 24. Now, because, ladies and gentlemen, because this is positive, it means that these factors over here, your last two terms in each, or your last term in each polynomial, is going to have to be the same sign. This tells me right here they're both going to be negative. So let's take a look here at this. And again, so we go for x squared, the only choices we have are x and x. Now for 24, the last term, again, we go ahead and we say 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Now again, ladies and gentlemen, because this is positive, we know that these factors have to be the same sign. They have to multiply together to give a positive 24. Now this again tells me right here they're both going to be negative. Why? Because remember, and I'm just going to put negatives on all these, because, ladies and gentlemen, these have to multiply out to be your last term, but because this is positive right here, they have to add up to be your middle term. So if we take a look, we already know they all multiply to get 24, so we just need to look at the pair that adds up to be negative 14, and that would be this pair right here. So what your answer is your first two come from here, x times x. Your last term in each binomial is this group right here, negative 2, negative 12. And if you go ahead and FOIL that, multiply it through, x times x is x squared, outers is negative 12x, inners is negative 2x, and then negative 2 times negative 12 is plus 24. These middle two terms do add up to be negative 14x. So that's your check. This is not your answer, we're just checking. So this is the factored form of x squared minus 14x plus 24. All right, now let's go over to the next one. Let's do the same thing. We want to get an x squared for the first one. This time we want to get a negative 24. All right? So by being negative, that tells us that these last terms in that last column are going to be opposite signs, because you got to take a positive times a negative to get a negative 24. So again, the first two terms are pretty set. The first term to get x squared is x times x. That gives you your x squared. Now we need to look at what gives us a negative 24. Well, it's the same thing that gave us a 24. It's 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. The only thing this time they're going to be opposite sides. So one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. And if you want to go through and do this, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. Why again? Because we have to get a negative 24. So we look at which one of those, when you combine them together, gives you a positive 10. Well, if I take a look here, ladies and gents, these two right here, a negative 2 times a positive 12 gives us a negative 24, but it adds up to the middle term of positive 10. Now, what happens if I would have had the signs wrong? What if I would have had a positive 2, negative 12? That would have given me a negative 10. Well, you still have the correct factors. You have 2 and 12, you just have the signs written wrong, and you just reverse the signs. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean by that here in another problem. So if we write this down, Okay, x times x gives you the x squared. We're going to use -2, +12 to give us the -24. Now we just got to see if they add up to be the middle term, so we're going to check. X times x, your first terms in FOIL is x squared. Outers would be x times 12, which would be 12x. Inners would be -2x. And then -24. Let's see if this gives us the +10 that we want. I believe it does. X squared plus 10x minus 24. Now, if this would have been a -10x right here, we have the right middle term, we just have the wrong sign. You would then, all you do is switch this to the opposite sign and this to the opposite sign. You have the right two numbers, 2 and 12. You just flip the signs to give us, but again, this did work out to be a +10x. So we're done. And that's the factored form of x squared plus 10x minus 24. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, that when you're going from multiplying two binomials, two-term polynomials, and multiplying them together, that's your distributive property. That's your FOIL. That's where you multiply. And just another name for the distributive property is FOIL, because that's the order in which you multiply the terms together. First times first, outers, inners, and then lasts. Okay? And the other way, this way, of going from x squared plus 5x plus 6 back to its factored form is called factoring. And basically what you're doing in factoring, you're dividing. Okay? So, that's, again, this is just about the same thing we were doing as we did last week, but we're going to add a little twist to it, and that this first term right here is going to be something other than 1. And we'll look at some examples on our next videos.